Have you ever asked yourself, who am I really living for? At first, it seems like a simple question. But when you listen deeply within, you realize it holds an entire journey. Winding, complex, and often painful. Because in truth, throughout much of our lives, we wear countless masks without even knowing it. A mask to be accepted by family. A mask to be liked by friends. A mask to be praised by society. And sometimes, an entire lifetime becomes nothing more than the endless shifting of these masks, until we forget what our true face actually looks like. But there is one essential question we must face. If I cannot be true to myself, can I ever truly be happy? This question is like a doorway, opening us to the very roots of our inner restlessness. How many times have we smiled just to please others, while inside, unseen tears were falling? How many times have we said yes out of fear of rejection, fear of judgment, or fear of being different? How many times have we forced ourselves into a mold just to prove we are worthy of love? And with every new mask we put on, we drift further away from who we truly are. In Buddhism, this is called delusion, the mistake of identifying ourselves with images, roles, and expectations imposed by the world. Such delusion never brings freedom, it only brings suffering. The Buddha taught that the root of suffering arises when we abandon our true nature, when we chase after illusions of a self defined by society, by family, and by the endless cravings of the mind. We believe that recognition, affection, or praise will make us happy. But in reality, these things are like the moon's reflection on water, disappearing with just the slightest ripple of wind. Imagine for a moment, if we spend our whole lives hiding behind masks, will we even recognize ourselves anymore? Like an actor who plays his role so convincingly that the audience applauds with admiration, yet when the curtain falls, he suddenly realizes he no longer knows who he is. When the mask becomes the face itself, that is when tragedy begins. The most frightening thing is not that others fail to recognize us, but that we fail to recognize ourselves. At that point, joy feels shallow, success feels empty. We may achieve what others desire, but we lose the most precious thing of all, peace of the heart. In the light of Buddhist wisdom, living authentically does not mean exposing everything, nor does it mean living recklessly or carelessly. To live authentically is to return to the pure nature of mind, unconditioned by praise or blame, gain or loss, comparison or judgment. It is to light the lamp of mindfulness and see clearly. I don't need to become someone else to deserve life. Simply being myself, fully present in each breath, is already enough. Many fear that without masks, they will be rejected, isolated, or hurt. But the truth is the opposite. Only when we dare to live authentically do we attract genuine connections. Only when we put down the burden of pretending do we feel light inside. Only when we courageously remove each mask can we smile a smile that is real, not forced, not hidden, a smile born from freedom. This path is not easy. It demands that we face our deepest fears. Fear of being unloved, fear of being wounded, fear of being alone in the crowd. But remember, courage is not the absence of fear. It is the willingness to walk forward despite fear. And each step toward our true self is a step closer to peace. On this journey, the Dharma is our lighthouse. The Buddha never asked us to become someone else. He simply showed us how to dissolve illusion, layer by layer, until we return to the clarity, purity, and compassion of our own nature. He taught that true happiness is not found in pleasing others, but in living in harmony with our own heart. And that is the message Buddha's wisdom journey wishes to share with you in today's video. Living without masks, the journey back to yourself. This is not only a philosophical theme, but also a deeply practical reminder. Because only when we are brave enough to set aside the masks, can we touch the freedom, lightness, and happiness that no one can take away. So perhaps the real question you and I must both reflect on is this: do we dare to live true to ourselves? For the answer to that question will decide whether we are walking the path of genuine happiness or still wandering, lost, in the maze of masks. Living authentically, in the spirit of the Dharma, is not a beautiful slogan, nor is it a license to live recklessly or disregard all rules. It is a journey of return, a quiet but powerful return that frees us from the layers of falseness that daily life, knowingly or unknowingly, has placed upon us. And to truly understand what it means to live authentically, we must first listen to one of the foundational teachings of the Buddha: non-self, anatta. Non-self does not mean losing yourself, nor does it mean becoming invisible or insignificant. On the contrary, non-self is the deep seeing of the true nature of existence. When we realize that what we call I is nothing more than a temporary aggregation of body, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness, then we also see that the idea of a fixed, solid, permanent self is only an illusion. And it is precisely this illusion that causes our suffering. How many times have we struggled to protect an image of ourselves? How many times have we forced ourselves to play a flawless role so as not to be criticized? All of this arises from the mistaken belief that there is a self that must be defended and adorned. But when we see the truth of non-self, we can finally put down that burden. We no longer need a mask to prove our worth. We no longer tremble before judgments, because we know that every image of me is only temporary, not the essence. Seeing non-self is the beginning, but to truly live it, we need another capacity: mindfulness and awareness. In daily life, our minds constantly fall into judging, comparing, and discriminating. This unending cycle prevents us from touching the truth within. Only when we pause, breathe slowly, and observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment, do we begin to see reality as it is. When anger arises, we recognize it as a passing cloud in the sky of the mind. No need to identify with it. No need to hide it. When sadness appears, we allow it to flow like a river, neither suppressing it nor clinging to it. In this observation, we touch a deep peace where there is no struggle, no pretense. This is the power of mindfulness, a lamp that illuminates, so we no longer lose ourselves in the whirlpool of illusions. And as we observe ourselves with awareness, another truth reveals itself. The greatest suffering of human beings lies in comparison and the craving to please others. We often believe that if we are liked, admired, or praised, we will be happy. But look deeply. A compliment may bring joy for a moment, yet a single criticism can instantly disturb our peace. Such happiness is borrowed happiness, fragile, unstable, and easily broken. When we constantly look outward for validation, we forget that true happiness already lies within our own heart. The Dharma teaches that by simply returning to the present, resting in the breath, and letting go of comparison, we realize that peace does not depend on anyone else. The most beautiful aspect of life does not come from the gaze of others, but from the freedom of our own mind, a freedom unbound by opinions of the world. But living authentically does not mean becoming selfish or detached. Many fear that being true to themselves will make them cold, uncaring, or disconnected. Yet when walking the path of the Dharma, we come to see that authenticity naturally blossoms into compassion and wisdom. Compassion is not a role we perform. It is the natural quality of the heart once it is no longer obscured by fear and self-centeredness. Wisdom is not cleverness or calculation. It is the clear vision of impermanence and non-self in all things. When we live with compassion and wisdom, we no longer need masks to please others, but we are also not indifferent to their suffering. We speak truthfully, but our words are infused with understanding and kindness. We act sincerely, not for fame or gain, but because it is the right thing to do, for ourselves and for others. Imagine a person who no longer needs to pretend, no longer needs masks. Such a person can smile when joyful, cry when sorrowful, say no when necessary, and rest in silence when the heart longs for stillness. Yet everything arises from a grounded peace, from a heart overflowing with love. This is not rebellion against the world. It is a gentle but profound return. Such a person does not seek validation, for they know their worth is not dependent on the outside. They do not compare, for they see that each person has their own path, each flower its own way of blooming. And for that very reason, they radiate a natural energy that brings ease and comfort to those around them. In the end, to live authentically is to live in harmony with wisdom and compassion. Wisdom allows us to see the impermanent, empty nature of all phenomena, freeing us from clinging to illusions. Compassion opens the heart, connecting us to the world through sincerity and love. When wisdom and compassion walk hand in hand, life becomes simple, yet carries a profound beauty, the beauty of truth. And this is the true meaning of living without falseness in the light of the Dharma. Not to stand out, not to prove anything, but simply to be ourselves, unconditioned, unbound, uncovered by layers of masks. This is the path the Buddha pointed to, the path that leads us back to the very source of peace. And along this journey, every step, every breath, every moment of mindfulness is an opportunity to remove one more mask and to come closer to the truth within ourselves. Returning to yourself, the path of natural liberation. When we speak of living authentically, many people immediately think of it as the opposite of falsehood. But on the Dharma path, authenticity is not just about refraining from lies or hiding nothing. It is about a complete presence, where the mind is no longer bound by fear or by the desire to please others. It is an inner state of freedom, a release from the pressure to become some image in order to be accepted. In the fast current of life, every day we are pulled into countless roles: a dutiful child, a loyal friend, a model employee, a devoted parent. These roles are not wrong in themselves. The problem arises when we completely identify with them. We believe that if we are not perfect in a role, we have no worth. And so, to hide our flaws, we put on masks, thicker and thicker with time. One day we realize we are exhausted, not because of work or duty, but because of the heavy burden of pretending. The Buddha once taught, "One who lives authentically has already taken a great step on the path of awakening. For authenticity is not easy. It requires the courage to face the shadows within ourselves, our weaknesses, our fears, our imperfections. We usually run away from these parts, thinking they are ugly and unworthy. Yet it is the hiding itself that causes suffering. Only when we dare to look directly, to embrace imperfection as a natural part of human life, do we taste true liberation. Pause for a moment and look at a flower. It blooms without comparing itself to any other flower. It offers its fragrance in its own way, not to please anyone, but simply because that is its nature. It blossoms, it shares its scent, and it withers when its time comes. Human life is the same. When we live true to our inner reality, we naturally shine without needing to prove anything. When we release comparison, when we stop striving to become the version others expect of us, we become free. Free to smile, free to cry, free to live fully. In the light of mindfulness, every breath becomes a testament to truth. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. It may sound simple, but this very simplicity holds the power of liberation. In that moment, we need no mask. We need not prove anything. We only need to be present. And in that presence, we discover a profound peace. A happiness that does not depend on the outside. A happiness without conditions. With this insight, we see that living authentically is not a burden. It is a joy. The joy of being natural, of no longer forcing ourselves. Like a river flowing in its own course, neither clinging nor resisting, yet it still reaches the ocean. This is the lesson of nature, and also the lesson of the Dharma. Living authentically does not mean abandoning responsibility or cutting ties with the world. On the contrary, when we live authentically, we can connect even more deeply with others, because we meet them not with masks, but with a bare and sincere heart. Through the lens of compassion, we see that others too are struggling with their own masks. We realize that everyone longs to be themselves, but fear holds them back. From this understanding, compassion is born. We no longer judge or demand. We simply open our hearts to embrace. This is why wisdom and compassion always walk together on the Dharma path. Wisdom allows us to see impermanence and non-self, freeing us from illusions. Compassion allows us to live authentically without becoming cold or rigid, but instead with kindness and warmth. When we live true to ourselves, we naturally become an example for others to dare to live true. And in this way, we help nurture happiness for the world. There is a paradox here. The more we strive to appear perfect in the eyes of others, the further we drift from the natural perfection of our own heart. But when we let go, when we dare to live authentically, we become more whole than ever. This is the wonder the Dharma reveals. Truth does not need decoration. The true heart does not need concealment, and happiness does not need to be borrowed from the outside. On this journey, there will be times we falter, times we want to return to the safety of masks. But remember, masks only offer false safety. Only authenticity brings lasting freedom. Each day we can begin with the smallest steps, daring to speak our truth with kindness, daring to express our real feelings without fear of ridicule, daring to live simply instead of showing off. Step by step, these small acts carry us closer to ourselves. And one day, when we look back, we will see that what we were seeking all along, peace, happiness, was never far away. It was always here, in the heart, waiting for us to remove the masks and let it shine. This is what Buddha's wisdom journey invites you to reflect upon. Not a journey of becoming a new self, but a journey of returning to what has always been here. For true happiness is not found in becoming someone else. It is found in resting in our own being, simple, sincere, and free. So the final question for each of us is this: are you willing to live authentically, starting today? Not tomorrow, not when conditions are perfect, but right now, in this very moment. For with just one true breath, one genuine smile, you have already stepped onto the path of liberation. Living truthfully. The path of freedom and liberation. In the end, living truthfully is not a strategy for success, not a technique to be loved, nor a tool to gain an advantage in life. In the light of the Dharma, living truthfully is a spiritual path, a journey of liberation. Liberation from the fear of being judged, liberation from the bondage of masks, liberation from the illusion of a self that must always be perfect, always praised, always accepted. It is freedom to return to yourself, a self that is not conditioned, not decorated, a self that is already whole. Some may ask, if I live truthfully, won't I be hurt? Won't I be isolated? The answer is, perhaps. Not everyone is ready to embrace truthfulness. But the important point is this: when you live truthfully, you are no longer wounded in the old way by rejection. Because you understand that external approval is not the foundation of happiness. That foundation lies within, in the place where you have stopped running away from yourself. In that place, even if you are rejected, you remain steady. Even if you are misunderstood, you do not lose your peace. And this very steadiness becomes a light, shining for those around you. Imagine a small candle. When it glows in the darkness, it does not shout. It does not try to prove itself. By simply existing, its light is enough to guide others. Living truthfully is the same. When you take off the masks and live from the deepest place of your heart, you become an inspiration for others to have the courage to do the same. You are not only freeing yourself, but also planting the seed of freedom for the world. This does not require grand actions. Sometimes, a single genuine smile is enough. A look of compassion is enough. A straightforward word spoken with kindness is enough. Such sincerity carries more power than any lecture, because it does not come from theory, but from lived experience. When you live truthfully, you are living proof that happiness is not found in pleasing others, but in resting in your true nature. The Dharma teaches that every being possesses Buddha nature, the innate wisdom, compassion, and freedom. The masks, the roles, the burdens we carry are nothing more than dust, temporarily covering that light. When you dare to let go, to return to yourself, that light naturally shines forth. And when it shines, you do not need to become anyone else. You simply are. Simple, natural, yet radiant and complete. Living truthfully is not a destination, but an ongoing practice in daily life. Upon waking, you might ask, am I living truthfully with myself today? In a conversation, you might reflect, are the words I am about to speak coming from sincerity or from fear of rejection? When making a decision, you might inquire, does this choice reflect my true self? or is it just to please others? Such questions, repeated often, become mirrors, helping you recognize when you are lost in pretense and when you are returning to truth. And remember, truth is not always comfortable, but it is always liberating. Pretense may grant temporary ease, but the cost is long-lasting unease. Truth may bring challenges, but the reward is enduring peace. Between these two paths, you always have the power to choose, and every moment is a chance to choose again. Listen to yourself. Have you grown weary of wearing masks? Do you long to take a deep, honest breath and live a life free of pretending? If so, know this: you are not alone. Countless generations before you have walked this path, and they discovered the light because they dared to let go. The Buddha walked it, sages walked it, and now it is your turn. No one can remove the masks for you, but no one can stop you from taking them off either. So, the final reminder is this: when you live truthfully with yourself, you not only gain freedom, but also illuminate the path for others. For truthfulness has the power to spread like a cool breeze, soothing the weariness of hearts longing for rest. When you dare to be yourself, you silently extend an invitation to others as well. You, too, can be yourself. And now, ask yourself, today, can you let go of just one mask to return to yourself? Just one is enough to make you lighter, freer, and one step closer to true peace. Perhaps the journey of returning to yourself is not a race, nor a goal to prove anything. It is simply a process of gently releasing each mask, a quiet homecoming, yet one with immense power to set you free. Along the way, you may feel lost, hesitant, even afraid when standing before the vast emptiness of truth. But it is precisely within that fragility that the beginning of an authentic life arises. Living truthfully does not make you perfect in society's eyes, but it makes you free. Free to laugh when you want to laugh, to cry when you need to cry, free to love without calculation, to walk without burdens. And that freedom is the deep happiness that no one else can give you, except yourself. Imagine for a moment, if one day you no longer had to strain to please anyone, if you no longer had to wear a single mask, how light would you feel? That is the gift of truthfulness, a gift each of us deserves to receive. This is also why I want to invite you, not only to listen and reflect, but also to leave a comment beneath this video. Share from your heart. Is there a mask you find difficult to let go of? Have you ever lived a moment of truth and felt completely free? When you share, you are not only connecting with yourself, but you may also be a light for someone else who is weary on the same path. Sometimes, just one honest word is enough to open a way for another. And if these words have touched your heart, I invite you to subscribe to Buddha's wisdom journey. Because on the path of returning to truth, each of us needs a reminder, a place of refuge that whispers, you can live differently, live free, live in peace, live true to yourself. Let us nurture together a space where there is no need to hide, no need to embellish, only to be, to listen, and to learn the art of returning. And I want to leave you with one final question, like a seed for your everyday life. Today, is there one mask you can let go of to return to yourself?